the next Vice President of the United States.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Pinkerton Academy, for hosting us here. Thank you, Granite Skaters, for sending Mitt Romney to the White House. It's so great to be back here. This is a beautiful place, a beautiful state.
Welcome back.
And I have my beautiful wife with me as well. She's here with my sister and brother-in-law. They live right over the border in Boston. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. Just kidding, I know. But my sister lives in Boston, and she works for Dunkin' Brands, and that is good coffee, isn't it? And you're a fantastic congressman. Frank Ginta and I work together on the budget committee. This man knows how to balance a budget, knows how to cut spending, knows fiscal responsibility. And one of those leaders who's helping us do this is Charlie Bass as well. Friends, we've got a big choice to make. This is not your ordinary election. We're not just deciding who's going to be the next president for 4 years. We are deciding what kind of country we're going to have and what kind of people we're going to be for a generation. This is a high-stakes election. Because if we have 4 more years like the last 4 years, we continue stagnation. The choice is very clear. Do we want a dynamic, growing economy that fosters opportunity? Or do we want a stagnant economy that fosters dependency? That's not who we are. In a live free or die state, we want to live free and prosper. When President Obama came into office, he inherited a tough situation. There are no two ways about it. But the problem is, the Obama economic agenda failed, not because it was stopped. It failed because it was passed. Don't forget this. He came into office with one-party rule, the ability to pass everything of his choosing. And he did that. Remember the stimulus. Remember the idea that if we just borrow $831 billion, spend it on all these various pet projects and interest groups, they said that unemployment would never reach 8%. We'd be growing at about 4% a year right now. Unemployment has been above 8% for 43 months. Our economy just last quarter crawled at 1.3%. What's worse are all these promises, cutting the deficits, growing the economy, bringing people together in a bipartisan fashion. I won't even get into the oceans and the tides. I've heard that one though. All these promises were made, and the idea of hope and change. And people, it sounded pretty good. But when the rhetoric went aside and the time to act occurred, the ideas are the old ideas that have failed time and again. You see, borrowing and spending and regulating and taxing and money printing, all of these things do not lead to prosperity. All of these policies basically say take power from people, take money from families and successful small businesses and from job creators, send it to Washington, and then they decide. That doesn't work. You know, when you look at the status of where we are right now, we have 23 million men and women in this country struggling for work. We have 15% of our fellow citizens living in poverty today. That's the highest rate in a generation. Women in poverty are at a 17-year high. The economy is barely growing. And the president, he has no ideas for how to grow it again. He's basically saying, I want to do more of the same. I want another round of stimulus with a big tax increase on job creators on top. We need a leader. We need leadership to get this country back on track, to put the right ideas in place, and that leader is Mitt Romney. Very rarely do we see a situation where the man and the moment meet so well. This is a man who, through all of his accomplishments, has shown one thing: decisive, principled leadership. And that's the kind of man we need. But it's not good enough for us to simply complain. We are not simply saying, hire us because the other guy is inadequate and failed. We want to earn this victory. We want to deserve this victory. Because what we need, what we as a country need, is a mandate and the moral authority to get us back on the right track and put the right ideas in place to get people out of poverty, to get people out of living paycheck to paycheck, to get people back into jobs with higher take-home pay so they have economic security, so we can get this economy growing, so we can restore the promise of the American dream for everybody. And that means ideas. We're offering very specific, bold ideas that are what we need to do to fix the big problems in this country. Number one. We have so much energy in this country. Let's get that energy in this country, create jobs, get the roadblocks out of the way, and that builds prosperity. Oil, gas, coal, nuclear, renewables, all of the above. You see, the Obama administration is standing in the way of what could be a very promising explosion of energy. We have so much coal, so much oil and gas because of new technology that we know how to get without harming the environment. This puts people to work. This creates manufacturing jobs. This helps everybody because it lowers gas prices. It lowers the cost to heat your home in the winter, to cool it in the summer, the electricity we pay. That means your paycheck goes farther. That means people living on fixed income have more income to live on. This is important. Because with an energy policy like the Keystone Pipeline, like opening up our lands for development, we can put Americans to work and stop sending our money overseas to the Middle East. It helps our foreign policy, it helps our economy, it helps our paychecks. You know, another area, as I mentioned, we have all these people in between jobs. For every person who got a job last month, which is a good thing, nearly 4 people stopped looking for a job. We are slipping behind. And what we see when we look at the faces, when we talk to the people, when we see the names, it's a person in their 30s, in their 40s, or in their 50s, in their early 60s. I'll get to the person in their 20s in a minute. It's a person who came out of school and got a career, got a good job, and then the factory left. Then their job went away. And now they don't have anything to replace it with. We need to help people who are in the middle of their careers get the skills they need to get the job they want that gives them a career for the 21st century, that gives them real economic security, that gives them a good job with better take-home pay so they can provide for their families. We need to clean up our education system. We need to make sure that we don't feed the bureaucracy, that we give people the choice and the resources they need to go to the best school, to get the best skills they need to get their job, get their life on the right path. You know, we also have to recognize that about 95% of the world's people live outside this country. And so if we want good take-home pay and good jobs, we need to grow more things and make more things in America and sell them overseas. That means we need trade that works for us. We need to open up markets. We need to hold countries accountable when they try to take our jobs and take our property and intellectual property. We need trade that works for us. You know, another thing, and I got to tell you, you cannot grow this economy if you do not realize that most of our jobs in this economy come from small businesses. We need to champion small businesses. We need to make sure that small businesses, when they look forward, when they're taking a risk, we need to know that the government's not going to pull the rug out from under them. Talk to a small business person today. Talk to a manufacturer. Talk to somebody who's just hanging on, hoping they don't have to lay off the next round of people. What do they see? Regulation after regulation after regulation coming from Washington. They have no idea what it's going to cost them. They're worried about going forward because of all these hidden costs. And then they see our president, who already passed a law, who's promising in law that the top tax rate on our successful small businesses in America goes to about 40%. That one tax only pays for 8% of his proposed deficit spending. So this idea, look, overseas, which where I come from means Lake Superior. We both live near Canada, right? The Canadians, they got this figured out. Other countries had this figured out. The Canadians lowered their taxes on all their businesses to 15%. And President Obama wants our tax rates on our businesses, our successful small businesses, our job creators go to above 40%. No. When we tax our job creators at much higher tax rates than our foreign competitors tax theirs, they win, we lose. We've got to get right with the idea that our jobs come from these successful small businesses. We don't want to tax them more. We don't want to regulate them more. We want them to hire more people. That is essential. And none of this is going to work. No business is going to be confident to take that risk, to hire people, to advance people, to give people promotions, to give people raises, to give them job security, if they see their government borrowing and spending like it is. We can't keep borrowing 36 cents of every... We cannot keep looking our children in the eye, knowing that we're going to give them a diminished future because we're spending their money today. It's a very simple idea. Mitt Romney and I are going to bring it to Washington. We have got to stop spending money we don't have. We must get this debt under control. This debt, it not only hurts our economy today with the threat of higher interest rates, with the threat of a losing dollar, with the threat of much higher tax rates. We know without a shadow of a doubt that we're giving the students here at Pinkerton Academy, our children and our grandchildren, a lower standard of living, a diminished future. We've never done that in this country before. You know, my dad, he said a number of things, and a couple of them really stuck with me. Number one, he always would say to me, son, you're either part of the problem or part of the solution. And you know what? President Obama has become part of the problem, and Mitt Romney is the solution. The other thing he said is in this country, every generation of Americans fixes their problems so that they can leave the next generation better off. That's the American legacy. And for the first time in the history of our country, we know that if we stick with these same failed policies of the last 4 years, we will guarantee that our children get a diminished future. We cannot allow that to happen. It is our moral obligation to save the American dream for our children and our grandchildren. This is why we need leadership. Take a look at Mitt Romney's record. Take a look at his history. Take a look at the man he is. And then you will know that this is the kind of man we need to lead us. Mitt Romney, I appreciate that. Mitt Romney knows firsthand what it takes to grow the economy, to grow businesses, to create jobs. He's helped create tens of thousands of jobs. And by the way, being successful in business, that's a good thing. Challenges, turning around difficult organizations and making them work. The Olympics is one great example of that. But you just know, living here in the Granite State, just over the border in Massachusetts, that is not a ruby red Republican state. This is a Republican who was governor of a Democratic state. 87% of the legislators he served with who were in the legislature were Democrats. Did he demonize and demagogue and divide?
No, he didn't.
No, he treated people with respect. He reached across the aisle without compromising principle, and he balanced the budget without raising taxes. That's the kind of leadership we need. Under President Obama, household income, families in America, have gone down by more than $4,000 over the last 4 years. The middle class is shrinking and falling behind. Under Mitt Romney, when he was governor of Massachusetts, household income went up $5,000. Look at what President Obama did on the budget. Nothing, except borrow and spend. And as a result of the president's abdication of leadership, as a result of seeing the most predictable economic crisis in our country's history and not fixing it, our credit rating was downgraded for the first time in our history. When Mitt Romney was governor, the credit rating of his state was upgraded. That's the kind of change we'll get with the Mitt Romney presidency. We need to tackle our nation's challenges before they tackle us. We need to save and strengthen Medicare and Social Security, and we're putting the ideas on the table on how to do that. We're not going to try and scare seniors. We're going to save these benefits for seniors and for my generation so that these promises are kept. We believe in a strong national defense, and we don't agree with the president's reckless and devastating defense cuts because we believe in peace through strength. We also believe, and in the live free or die state, we know this to be true. We want to be in control of our own health care, and in order to do that, we have to repeal and replace Obamacare. The choice is clear. We can either stick with the failed policies of the last 4 years for the next 4 years, which gives us a stagnant economy and fosters government dependency, or we can fix these problems, bring the leadership that we are sorely lacking, and have that dynamic, growing economy that produces opportunity, upward mobility, and self-sufficiency and economic growth. Higher take-home pay, a stronger middle class, getting people out of poverty, back to the middle class, and growing economic security. This is doable. This is right in front of us. We can do this. You know, this election is not just about these material issues. This election is about the fiber of our society. This election is about the kind of people we're going to be, the kind of country we're going to have. This country is an idea. That's something we can never forget. It's not New Hampshire to California or Florida to Wisconsin. It's not just a nation with a flag. It's the only nation founded on an idea. The minute we lose our country. Our founders secured this when every veteran since has put on the uniform to defend that idea so we can live in peace and freedom. And we thank them for what they've done to give this country. That's why we have to win. That's why we have to win. Winston Churchill said it best. The Americans can be counted upon to do the right thing, but only after they have exhausted all other possibilities. I think that's where we are. We are at that fork in the road. We have a choice to make. Mitt Romney and I are giving you the choice. It is a very clear choice of two different futures. And you know what? It is not too late to get this right. It is not too late to turn this economy around. It is not too late to secure for our children the promise of America that our parents secured for us. We can do this. We can get this together. We can put this together. And together we can get this done. Because you know what? Granite Staters, you have an enormous responsibility and you have enormous opportunity. A handful of states will settle this. You understand that. You're the Granite State. You've had presidential candidates in your kitchens. You're used to this. But that's why you know the responsibility you have. You have a responsibility to talk to your fellow citizens. To get those people that liked the promise of hope and change 4 years ago, but are demoralized now, to show them we have a better path, we have better ideas, because we're going to reapply our founding principles.